Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Tonight on Our News, Cabinet developing a policy in response to Russian vessels entering Bahamian waters. Plus, more than 100 illegal migrants apprehended in Regatta Bank this morning. And later, high heels in high places. Find out how Cable Bahamas marked International Women's Day. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, news that 3 Russian tankers rerouted to the Bahamas due to sanctions imposed by other Western countries has prompted the Davis administration to come up with a policy focused on Russian vessels entering Bahamian waters. This as officials confirmed today that one of the 3 vessels briefly docked in Freeport over the weekend. Minister of Transport and Housing JoBeth Colby-Davis and Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell addressed the issue.
All I can say is it's an evolving story. There's no formal decision which has been taken with regard to sanctions.
Reuters reported on Monday that at least 3 tanks controlled by Russian state-owned company rerouted to the Bahamas. The company was blacklisted by the United States last month over Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Colby-Davis says the Port Department is working to confirm if the other ships are attempting to dock in Grand Bahama. She says Cabinet is also set to discuss the issue on a wider scale.
It is the intent of the Cabinet to discuss further what the government's policy position is. I can't speak to say what it will be, what position that we will take, because obviously that has to be a discussion held at Cabinet, and then we have to get advice from the Attorney General, who I've been in consultation with as well.
Meanwhile, 123 Haitian migrants were apprehended this morning on Regatta Bank. The group, made up of 50 men, 34 women, and 39 children, were taken in by a joint operation of immigration, customs, police, and defense force officers to Grand Bahama. According to a release from the Department of Immigration, all of the migrants appeared to be in good health, but were being checked by the Disease and Surveillance Unit. Last week, RBDF Commodore Raymond King told Our News it appears migrants are attempting to get to Florida. Also from Grand Bahama, grieving relatives of a man gunned down in West End on Sunday night say he was caught at the wrong place at the wrong time. Jared Higgs has more in this report.
Oh, you never leave me, baby. It's a chunk of blood. It's a chunk of blood from my child.
Joy Bowleg Wilchcombe described her son, Valentino Bowleg, as a mommy's boy as she recalled their final conversation before he was killed on Sunday night.
He was a mommy's boy. It ain't nothing he had that he wouldn't give away. He had his challenge just like any other young man.
According to police, the 39-year-old was shot in the upper thigh during an altercation at a business establishment in West End. His mother says the bullet hit a major artery, resulting in him bleeding out.
Yes, he gets shot in the leg. He did. But it burst the main artery and the artery floor. It burst too wide. So all the blood just ran out of him. Time as he reached the clinic, he was just about dead.
Our News interviewed Bowleg's grieving family just feet away from where the murder took place and about 100 feet from where his family lives. His girlfriend grieved loudly while adamant that he wasn't the intended target of the violence.
Oh, God.
Him or somebody else, they come for
my brother wasn't even involved in none of that. He had no wife and no one down here. He was a grateful person. He always a nice person, always willing to give us lives. He just get a lucky shot. And the lucky shot is what take his life.
Oleg made his living diving for conch and fish. His heartbroken mother says she is still waiting to see him pop up on her caller ID.
I waiting to hear him call me. I waiting to hear him call me. I'm waiting for my phone to call.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Thanks, Jared. Well, pleasant conditions outside the Our News studios tonight. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the latest. Good evening, Greg.
Thanks, Christina, and welcome everybody for our first look at weather on this happy Tuesday. Warm conditions outside our studios, temperatures in the upper 70s. We did forecast these warm temperatures coming. Clear skies, the winds out of the southeast at 8 miles per hour, and your feels like temperature, look at that. 79 degrees, very warm outside our studios right now. On our satellite, nothing to talk about. It's quiet out there. The weather is very tranquil. That ridge of high pressure continuing to dominate our weather. Weakening some, so our winds have fallen off to the cautionary level, but we do still have some swells affecting those easternmost islands. We're asking you beachgoers, if you plan on doing any beaching, to exercise some caution out there. That will continue through tonight, and that high pressure will remain in charge through tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, public transit users might have to dig deeper into their pockets as a fee hike is being considered. And it's back to the high seas as regattas are back on track in June. And later, what one doctor is advising women about their health. That's coming up when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Samir.
Bahamas Power and Light has not canceled its fuel hedge agreement, according to BPL Chairman Pedro Roll, who's responding to accusations by Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard last week, claiming the program had been canceled. In a statement today, BPL Chairman Pedro Roll said the arrangement remains in action but is not producing the results expected, as the effectiveness of the current hedge arrangement is directly related to the mix of fuel, which existed before the current administration took office. The statement further noted that the effectiveness of the hedge going forward was greatly exaggerated in the press and says it was clear that from before the change in administration that the savings the company expected would not follow. For the full statement, visit Our News Bahamas on Facebook. And as negotiations between the Public Managers Union and the National Insurance Board remain at a standstill, State Minister Miles Leroda is speaking out on the matter. He says there are other factors that take priority. Bethany McDermott reports.
Amid the ongoing standoff between the National Insurance Board and the Public Managers Union, State Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister Miles Leroda says balancing the economy trumps the benefits of a group of employees.
The public service, I think it's around 28,000. And so this negotiation is not just going to be in a bottle.
Leroda said government will decide its position and what will be done for all employees, inclusive of those at NIB. His comments come as the Public Managers Union has been pressuring the government to finalize its industrial agreement, which expired 2 years ago. According to Union President Cassandra Lewis, 2 financial matters are still outstanding.
Very, very slight advancements, but not sufficiently progressive, as all parties had agreed to at the time. We would have been advised by the relevant parties and officials at NIB that the minister is fully appraised of what's going on.
In a statement Monday, NIB said negotiations remain at an impasse over salary increases and bonus payments to eligible staff. NIB says it's of the view that bonus payments ought to be linked to the financial performance of NIB, but noted that the PMU is not fully receptive to that view. Lewis said it seems NIB is imposing financial heavy-handedness.
We remain focused. Our position is the resolution of our contract. The fight, there's no fight, you know. No. It's easy. All we are doing is asking for what we are entitled to.
Recently, there were reports of sick-outs at NIB. When asked to confirm, the state minister responded this way.
We know what's going on. I don't want to go and put labels, but if the vast majority of a certain group of people all decided that they were not going to come into work for various ailments of which they are not required to provide a sick note, I leave it up to the public.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Minister of Transport and Housing, JoBeth Colby-Davis, confirming today government is in talks with bus and taxi drivers over their cries to increase fares in light of rising inflation. The Transport and Housing Minister says the matter is up for consideration and has already been discussed at Cabinet. Here's Jasmine Brown.
The Transport Minister says those discussions have been ongoing for months, and she says the Davis administration hopes to have a decision on the matter soon.
I spoke to my Cabinet colleagues probably maybe 2-3 months ago when I had that initial meeting with them, as I promised them, and we decided that I would come back at it summer, because we were just opening up the economy and we wanted to see how the revenue flows back into the economy, getting persons back to work, and then potentially having a thought on whether we would increase or allow the increase of their fares.
The unions and associations that represent taxi and jitney drivers have both said inflation and the rising cost of fuel is prompting their latest push to increase their fares.
They spoke about a potential increase or the allowance of them increasing the fees, simply because I think the last time it was done was probably 10-12 years ago, and it's kind of hurting their business because inflation goes up and we still have seen the same prices for years.
The Bahamas Taxi Cab Union is suggesting up to a 25% increase, while jitneys are looking at an increase of up to 60%.
They did give us some rates, but I don't think that discussion was surrounding whether we would agree on what they presented. It was just simply because the Cabinet understood their concerns and what they were saying, but we still have to balance it with the state of the country and the economy.
Both the taxi and jitney industry have taken major blows due to the COVID-19 pandemic, with the tourism industry coming to a near standstill for months and COVID protocols only allowing for jitneys to operate at a 50% capacity.
I had meetings with both the taxi and the bus drivers union, and they raised those before the increase or the potential increase in gas prices, simply because during COVID they were shut down and their business flourishes off of the economy being open and movement of people, and so they've taken a big hit to their businesses.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, why one doctor is urging women to take charge of their own health, plus how one company is supporting high heels in high places, and a Rev customer's sports dreams come true. The details when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Samir.
This is our news. Welcome back. Get ready to mark your calendars. Rake and Scrape festivals and regattas are making a return. Here's Sasha Lightbourne.
They are a source of income, a reason for islanders to return home, and most importantly, some of the most popular events on our social calendars. And for 2.5 years, COVID-19 halted all Family Island festivals and regattas. But those days are behind us. Minister of Agriculture, Marine Resources and Family Island Affairs Clay Sweeting announcing today the resumption of those events, albeit with the right safety protocols.
We're starting to plan from June moving forward for regattas, homecoming and festivals. I'm sure The whole country is excited. I'm sure Family Islanders are excited. So we're starting to put everything in place to ensure that we're successful in doing so.
While traditionally organized by the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, Sweeting says the Ministry of Health is now heavily involved.
We work along with the Ministry of Health, but we do understand that cases are dropping or just about gone. So starting June, we'll start working towards that.
These events draw huge crowds, making it now necessary to have a large police presence.
We're here in March, so that would be in June. So we're hoping, not to foreshadow the Ministry of Health, but we're hoping that a lot of these restrictions will be to the point that will not be as stringent as what we see today. So the protocols, what you would see encapsulated now, hopefully would not be in June. So that's why we set the date in June. Hopefully, the Ministry of Health has done a wonderful job ensuring that the protocols is in place and that cases have been reduced. So hopefully by June we'll be to a different place where we might not be having this conversation.
Reporting for our news, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
In other news, one doctor is encouraging women to take charge of their health on International Women's Day, sharing a few measures every woman should take to ensure a clean bill of health.
Majority of the time, the body talks and we don't listen. Yeah. And, it's unfortunate that in retrospect, then you find, oh yeah, I have been having this weird, like you said, odor or these pains that I just dismissed.
Dr. Andrea Suarez Mora is an obstetrician gynecologist at Cleveland Clinic in Weston, Florida. She's not Bahamian, but sees a number of Bahamian patients. Unfortunately, she says by the time they appear in her practice, they have exhausted other options.
The group, the most common things that I see in Bahamian women are uterine cancers and cervical cancers.
Women may be reluctant to speak up about symptoms or even get regular checkups, but Dr. Suarez Mora says being empowered means taking care of yourself.
These are not topics that we talk about nearly enough, and we're all embarrassed to ask.
Breast cancer is one of the most common types of cancer in the Bahamas, but the gynecologist says uterine and cervical cancer symptoms should not be overlooked or pushed to the back burner.
We are the expert on our own bodies. Even though we're not all healthcare professionals, or might not have the language or the knowledge about these scientific areas, we have a knowledge about ourselves. And so when things are different or feel different, we can't ignore that.
For more on our interview with Dr. Suarez Mora, follow our news on Facebook. A loyal Rev customer gets rewarded with a sports lover's dream. Marcellus Hall has the story tonight in sports.
Thanks, Christina. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. No, you didn't miss anything. DeAndre Ayton didn't play last night, but he will be soon. Now, we'll give you details on that. The reason we have that behind us is because one of our customers here at Rev is going to get a chance to meet DeAndre Ayton and see him live and in action. Let's give you some details.
Superfan and a longtime Rev customer, Mario Major, a.k.a. Super Mario, getting some great news this past week. Major finding out that he is the winner of an all-expenses-paid trip and an NBA backstage VIP pass to a Phoenix Suns game featuring Bahamian DeAndre Ayton. He talked about, first of all, getting the win and understanding what exactly was ahead of him.
I couldn't believe it when we actually won, but when I got the call, it was amazing. It was unbelievable to find out you could win such a thing with Rev, so it was amazing.
Now, Major encouraging everybody else to get involved, saying he's especially looking forward to meeting up with Ayton and interacting with our Bahamian NBA big man.
I had the pleasure of meeting him about 3 months ago when he was in town for his break. So he's a cool guy. Came from Nassau Village, that's the area. I live close to that area, so it's what it is, and you get to support your Bahamian athletes. That's quite important too. So I'm happy Rev is doing something like this for us.
And that is your look at sports here on this Tuesday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Marcellus. Still to come on our news, Greg is back with the extended weather forecast, plus high heels in high places this International Women's Day. Stay with us.
Got size at 6'5". this is Shamika.
Welcome back to our news. We're looking forward to mostly sunny skies through the rest of the week. Greg is back in the Weather Center with a look ahead.
Thanks again, Christine, and welcome back, everybody, for our second look at weather. That ridge of high pressure, very persistent across the area, continuing to dominate our weather pattern. Dry conditions, a dry air mass moved across us, very warm temperatures today. We continue to see that trend through the rest of the week as that high pressure slowly slides out towards the east. That high is going to keep a frontal boundary to the north of us at bay, and that front will slide out towards the east as well. By the end of the week, though, our forecast model is showing a very significant front expected getting here by Saturday into Sunday, so we could see our last strong front for the winter season moving into the area with some cooler temperatures expected behind that. Boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Small craft using caution. We do expect some swells out there. Southeast to south winds at 15 knots. Seas will be running 3 to 5 feet. Your low tide was at 6:45 tonight. For the central and southeastern islands, caution fly for you guys down there as well, but an east to southeasterly float, 15 to 20 knots expected. Seas running 4 to 7 feet over the ocean. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through next Tuesday. Just a reminder, we'll keep you abreast. Time changes this Sunday, but we'll tell you about that later on. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks for the reminder, Greg. Well, on International Women's Day, Cable Bahamas Group of Companies is applauding women in leadership positions. President and CEO Franklin Butler says CBL's executives and leaders reflect talented and motivated women across the company.
Particularly given the history of Cable Bahamas, where we've had literally no female vice presidents when only 5 years ago, to the point now we have 7 vice presidents.
By celebrating high heels in high places, Butler says he hopes young women in the Bahamas can see examples of how far they can go.
So many of us grow up with limitations where, our job is to go to school, get married, and be a wife. And sometimes the reality is if we don't see others set a higher path for ourselves, for themselves, it's really hard for all of us to see what it is that we can do unless we have somebody who's taken that time to mentor.
Butler recognizes the tremendous contribution women make not only to Cable Bahamas Group of Companies, but to the country as a whole.
This is really exciting for us, exciting for me as CEO, to really be celebrating our women who have done tremendous things in their personal lives, who've managed motherhood, who've managed these incredible roles in the organization, and who have not really been given any passes, but who have stepped up to the plate.
Happy International Women's Day. Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.